Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast in partnership with the Still Voices Film Festival. I'm Gemma Creagh, and ahead of this year's festival I'm chatting with Robert Higgins and Patrick McGivney about their poignant rural drama, Lakelands. First up, I want to say thank you guys for chatting with us. A beautiful film. It was just such a joy to watch it. It just felt so deeply true and warm and well realized.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that, Gemma. Thanks for having us on the show.
So I'd love to just learn a little bit about how this came about. So what's your backgrounds and how did you end up working together?
Yeah, so me and Paddy know each other since we're kids. We're from pretty much 5 minutes down the road from one another. So yeah, funnily enough, we actually met at football training back in the day, which is pretty funny considering the film we ended up making. But yeah, we just ended up in a big gang of friends at home, and so we were growing up all our teenage years, and it would have been something we talked about a little bit at that point. But we kind of went up then into the city when we were older. We're both from Longford, where the film is set, of course. And we went up to the city and we were kind of working our kind of corporate jobs. And we still had this kind of little itch to kind of go back. And we really just kind of talked about it more and more. So that was just something we kind of started meeting up in the evenings and really talking about, and started working on our little scripts at the time and trying to figure out filmmaking when we went back home at the weekends, and slowly got a little bit better at it anyway, I hope. But that was kind of, yeah, where we kind of started off from.
So this started off as a script that you guys, like a passion project. You guys knew you wanted to do a feature. Did you work on shorts together first? How did you get the money together for it?
Yeah, we initially started making shorts. I think the bit of the story that Rob left out there is that we actually we started off kind of acting in our own shorts to begin with, and we learned quite quickly that we were never going to cut the mustard as actors. So we were much better suited to behind the camera. So we decided to, I suppose build out our first short, which was Éanna's Gardaí, and just started collaborating with our longtime cinematographer Simon Crowe, and built out a really kind of strong crew and cast. And I suppose that just gave us a lot of confidence to kind of push on and build out our second short, which was Drifting. And Drifting, we were lucky enough to work with Paul Mescal just before Normal People kind of hit the big time. And I suppose, yeah, the feature script is a different story, but it was definitely set in a similar world. So I suppose that kind of served as a bit of a kind of proof of concept. And I guess we just kind of realized that there was something interesting in that world, and it was definitely worth kind of expanding and building out. So I suppose that was kind of where the script for Lakelands was born from.
And then I suppose in terms of the funding it, I suppose we kind of looked at a little bit more of a grassroots approach than is kind of normal with these kind of films. We kind of felt, because it was set in our hometown, and our hometown was kind of a film set of the film, we were like, I think we could do this for a lot less than like a normally would cost to pull off this sort of thing. So we kind of started piecing the budget together from different places, between the arts office, the local arts office, the Creative Ireland. We got a little bit of funding there. We got some grants for our business that went towards it. And then at the Galway Film Fair the year before, we won the Bankside Award. So that got a little bit of money. And then we got a distributor on from there. And then finally we got completion funding with Screen Ireland, and that kind of pieced it together.
Would that have been, you had already shot it and that was to get the post across the line? Is it? So
yeah,
that was going to go with them with your rushes and...
Yeah, so we got a cut together, and yeah, so we were a little bit inspired actually by Redemption of a Rogue, which was shot up the road from us,
that's gorgeous. Like,
yeah.
And I was gonna say, there's no hint of a low budget from this at all. Like and the big Screen Ireland logo, I was like, oh, grand, this got a good bit of money, and it's nice that these sort of stories are being funded, like outside Dublin in that real authentic voice. And I was like, good on them. And then I was like, oh my God, no way, because it's beautiful. The action scenes, the shots, the sequences, like the landscape, like it's all just captured really, really well.
yeah, we really just felt, yeah, we had that kind of production value and just the locations were there, everyone there's great excitement, a bit of buzz around the whole town, and there's a bit of crack, just all this landing down and taking over the town for 3 weeks. So everyone really like local football team came out, like all our mates are in the nightclub, all our mates are in the pub.
Doing the dancing.
That was not as hard to recruit as the other teams. They were willing to come to the pub, all right. But yeah, like a lot of it, we reckon we had that production value from, other places, I suppose, that kind of raised that.
Yeah, we shot that nightclub scene at the height of COVID as well. So we don't think anyone had actually been in a nightclub for like the guts of a year,
Years.
18 months. So yeah, it was quite easy to film in the end.
I was going to say, because filming it was an essential service dubbed at a time. So anyone I know doing film shoots, they were like, well, we can still, you were on lockdown, but they can still go to things and do stuff. So wow, that's God, I like it's so again, I just think it's fabulous. And the script felt very polished and very well observed. Like I loved how
Grace, yeah.
Grace, I think like this is just a cliche. It's just the way it's set up, right? And it's not you. This is just films where you're like, oh, there's a guy, he's struggling. He has this character now who's a female character who's going to be like, oh, don't destroy your life. And I was like, actually, you didn't do that at all with her. She was just someone who is completely fully rounded, was going on an adjacent journey with him, who was really well realized, and then who they influenced each other quite equally. And I was like, okay, that's brilliant because like you just the other trope is sort of what you see all the time, and like to watch her, I'm like, she's like there's a film that's following her that's a completely separate film, like, but you got that sense of it was so real, and it was a real joy to watch. The script was just really well observed. The language, like, I'm not giving too much away, but like one of my favorite moments was when he just lost his shit over the dinner. Like he's giving too much away. He has his dad left him a dinner. He goes to eat it, and he just gets really upset. And I'm like, that is exactly what happens when, like, it's such a truthful moment when like you're at your kind of wit's end, you're pushed to it, and someone does like this stupid nice thing for you, and then you just feel so shitty. Like it's just, I don't know. I just thought like that was just brilliant. Like it was really the language that's used, the subtext that continuously went through it. Like it's just really nice to watch and just perfectly captured. Like they feel like people I know.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate that. Yeah, we were really like hoping. I don't know. We found like our part of the country has a lot of unique kind of vernacular and stuff, and we just kind of wanted to weave that in. Like, there's not been so many films, I suppose, in Longford, like set in Longford, so we thought there's a bit of some idiocentric ways of saying things that would be interesting to weave through, and a lot of kind of localisms, and we're really just trying to get that. We wanted to be immersive and kind of feel like it feels for us when we're, in the pub at home, or we're going around at home.
Yeah, but I just thought it was a fabulous piece of writing initially, and then very well realized as it goes through. So that's why I was like, oh yeah, that's another thing, because it felt like, again, the script was so developed that I was like, oh yeah, they must have got loads of funding and had loads of time to do that and workshop that with the actors.
Yeah, we actually got a couple. Yeah, like we were in development, and then we got a great bursary from the Backstage Theatre in Longford. So we were able to get Éanna Hardwicke, Danielle Galligan, and Lorcan Cranitch down for a couple of days to workshop it, and they're just incredible. They're just such talented actors, and yeah, they've become great friends of ours as well. But they just brought so much to all of their characters, and really just kind of enriching them a lot, I feel. And so that was like a big part of, I think, what kind of hopefully helped the characters, yeah, become 3D and come into real
Oh,
life, I suppose.
brilliant. And just so well realized, and great performances as well, very naturalistic. So how do you guys work with them to do it? So you got to do a little bit of workshopping, but I mean, I'm presuming a 3 week shoot as well, you have a lot of beats to cover.
Yeah. It was 17 days shoot. So it was a very was a very quick shoot, but we kind of have been used to that from our shorts, and that's kind of we like to work quite quick and we like to work quite fresh with the actors, and like we were just so blessed with the cast we had that they were they were giving you great work every time, and you were just getting variations, I suppose, and like it's we were just so lucky as to have such talented actors there, because when you are working with that sort of level of tight time, you don't have as many takes or anything like that. So I think that was a big part of it. Yeah, just keeping it fresh, and the standard of the actors we had really helped.
Yeah, and actually, I'm still curious. I'm going to go back again to just chat about your process. So, how do you work as a pair? Like as a pair of directors, as a pair of writers? Like, do you do a chapter or or do you do a couple of pages each and pass them to one another? Do you develop ideas, write half, do another pass, and then how does the physical reacting, like, or how does the physical directing actually work? How do you guys share the workload?
Yes, I suppose in terms of the writing, we talk a lot about it first and kind of get a sense of the idea and the world and the characters and the themes and everything like that. And then like we'll sketch out the structure, do a pass, and then it's kind of we'll usually kind of some scenes we can tell right away. We kind of know each other's strengths at this point, and some people will sometimes we'll go, this one's more you, this one's more me, and then a lot of times we'll write the same scene, and then like after all that, which is the like painful part, and for me anyway, we just talk it out like repeatedly, and that's when it gets really fun for the two of us when we're kind of it feels a bit like you're just chatting with the gang at home, and you're cracking jokes, and that's where the kind of the one-liners come in, and the colloquialisms and all of that. So, and then in terms of directing, Paddy, you probably.
Yeah, like I think in terms of the writing, then like I think we've stumbled on a bit of a cheat code, just for the simple fact that we've grown up in the same part of the world, and we know all the same kind of people, we've the same kind of group of friends. So, when we're developing a character, we'll say, well, this is he's kind of a bit like this person, and maybe with a bit of that person mixed in. So it helps us to kind of like move a lot quicker, and you can say one person's name, and all of a sudden that person becomes very real very quickly. So I think that's a bit of a cheat code. And then just I suppose having the same yeah, just the same language and in terms of the same kind of vernacular that's kind of used at home. And I guess just allows us to move that bit quicker than I guess other kind of duos that mightn't necessarily know each other that long. And I suppose just on set, we just love to work as collaboratively as possible with the kind of the cast and even the crew. And um, I think that's just how you kind of get the best work from the actors. You kind of talk everything through in advance, and like everyone gets to kind of chip in their 2 cents. And I suppose the best option kind of just bubbles to the surface through that process. And then as well as that, just giving the actors just a safe place a safe space rather to I suppose try new things. And just as long as it's a fun kind of collaborative space, and that's where kind of interesting things start to happen when people feel like they have that kind of support network around them to try things. And as Rob said as well, just getting the opportunity to get Danny and Éanna and Lorcan down to, I suppose, develop those backstories in advance of the shoot. And that's just such a beneficial part of the process because the characters just feel that little bit more lived in. So I think, trying to do as much work in advance, yeah, just it definitely kind of helps with the final product, and helps us kind of move that little bit quicker because we were doing, it goes to 5 pages a day, so you're moving incredibly quickly. So I suppose just having had those conversations well in advance just means that, if Danny or Éanna has a suggestion, you immediately know that it's coming from a place of deep understanding of that character, and I suppose that's what facilitates the trust really. You trust them to know what the best option is in that moment.
Like, what were you looking for when you cast them? Like, what was the process there of getting them involved in the film?
Yeah, I suppose there were two leads in particular were like such tricky characters because you're literally going through nearly every emotion you can go through.
And staying in humor quite a lot. Like humor is the defense mechanism, for
Yeah,
these moments, that kind of macabre humor. I really like that. I think it works so much better, but it's nice to hit those beats as well. And it's a really tricky one to hit.
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of reflection and true humor in, that's particularly, Cian is, batting away a lot of stuff with humor, rather than opening up as he kind of goes through his journey. So that is a tricky kind of one to, there's a lot of stuff going, there's a lot of insular performance going on there where you're saying one thing and you're kind of conveying the other thing. So like with the guys we just had seen, they had such strong bodies of work. Um, we just we'd seen quite a few performances from both of them, and like across shorts, across they'd both done feature films and TV shows at that point. And then upon meeting them, we just knew they were kind of perfect for it. And they could carry off that. And yeah, with something that there is that lot of humor kind of back and forth, like both of them are great crack to chat with, like they're great conversationalists. So you knew they would be able to handle that part of it, and they absolutely did.
And there was a great chemistry actually, and that you felt that on stage. And I'm like, you do get that like element of like the will they won't they, but actually it's more about friendship. And I think that was the the thing that kind of carried it and made it really enjoyable to watch, where it is about two people like just at very difficult stages in their lives, like finding this kind of connection. And that's the thing that kind of pulls him through it, because the men in his life are sort of useless at that. Like even though his dad tries so hard, like he
Yeah,
doesn't have the skills.
yeah, like they're into all the kind of conversations between the the dad and Cian, like it all kind of centers around work. And so like that's kind of their language. So if they're annoyed at each other, it's conveyed through something that wasn't done on the farm. And if they're happy with each other, it's again work related. And I think what really interested us about the character Cian, he's got these different versions of himself. And he's kind of a fading star in town, and he's kind of has this reputation amongst the locals. And so that kind of I guess informs the interactions with his neighbors. And then when it comes to the guys, it's very much kind of bravado and crack. And then he meets Danny or the character Grace rather, and she's the first person to kind of pierce through that. And I suppose just that kind of results in that kind of slow kind of softening up of his character. And it's what interested us was that kind of then kind of bled into all his other relationships. And he kind of goes on an interesting journey. But it's definitely, I suppose, facilitated by that relationship with Danny's character Grace.
yeah. I think it's interesting what you mean there. Like when you were saying there about two, like a lot of the films we were looking at were these kind of lost soul type films where there was two people kind of like, which people probably wouldn't expect when it's kind of a sports adjacent film like this. But a lot of stuff like In the Mood for Love or Lost in Translation and just those sort of films where it's just two kind of people, both with their own kind of issues, and they both kind of cross over at an interesting time. They both kind of come out in a better place from it, I suppose. Those are kind of some of the influences we were looking at with that central relationship.
And it's great, like, and that is really there, because like a lot of the time, or like a lot of things that I've seen where the female lead is just like a plot, it's like a sounding board for and like,
Yeah,
oh, don't do that, or stop it, it's too dangerous, like this kind of thing, where actually no, she's coming from a place of real pain, and you should know better, like, which is a much more realistic response of
yeah,
for anyway. I don't want to go into too much about this. But
yeah. No, we were very conscious of trying to subvert any of that, and also just as any sport film is a minefield of cliches. So we were just trying our best to, obviously it's a sports adjacent film more so than a sports film, but we were just very conscious of in all aspects where we could kind of try and subvert things a little bit and kind of make it a little bit unexpected, I suppose, or closer to reality.
And the fading lights thing, actually, that's a really good point, because I do think that's like a really good point about people getting left behind, about people getting stuck in that kind of groove, and all those themes are there, and it's just like lovely. It's so quiet and still, but there's so much happening underneath the surface. That's like it's a real joy. Like, and then again, everything is there. The world is really rich. Like, one of the things that I really liked was that daily routine, like his relationship to the heifers. Like, it was just such a was that actually, like, how much of this is true? Because it feels like all of it is true in some way.
All the locations, I suppose, are very close to home for us, in terms of the town and the farm, so I suppose one of the reasons why we did that, we wanted to give it that kind of lived-in feel, um, and I suppose, just with Cian's character, I suppose, he definitely has his identity kind of wrapped up in kind of what he does and how he plays, and so his identity is almost wrapped up in that daily routine that you mentioned there. And we just thought it'd be interesting then for a character like that to have his routine kind of taken away from him due to the injury. And it just kind of forces him to go on a bit of a journey then, outside of those things that he's kind of become defined by. So yeah, I suppose, we were, I suppose, mindful of making sure that each kind of location was somewhere that we knew really well. And yeah, I suppose it helped with the budgetary constraints that we had as well, that I suppose it worked from a creative perspective as well.
Yeah, I think when we had the opportunity to make something like this where we wanted to make it as personal as we could, and kind of, you might not get a chance to do it like that again, So we really poured as much as ourselves into it as we could. And a lot of it is either kind of real or kind of, you're trying to slightly transposing emotions from a slightly different situation, but there's a lot of that in it. But we wanted to put as much of us into it as we could, as kind of that kind of first film you make,
Like, I haven't seen that world kind of captured so nicely, so authentically, so like that emotional depth. It's not like a maudlin tale of seriousness. Like, there's humor, there's emotional arcs, there's characters with their own little mini arcs that happen in the background, and I'm like, it's a very rich, like, but quiet narrative, like, so it's really nicely captured. So it premiered at the Galway Film Fleadh, which is just fabulous. How do you feel like the response has been to it? Watching it as someone from the outside, you can go, okay, well, look, you can see, right, there's the Friday Night Lights element with the with the action sequence in the field, the small town vibe. Like, you can see, oh my God, like, that could do well if it got in the right hands. Like, the Americans have already been warmed up with Normal People and Paul Mescal and GA. I was like, it could really do well because it could resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It'd be great. Yeah, the direction was amazing. Yeah, in Galway, like, it was a wild experience because, yeah, like, most of our festival experience has been during COVID, and we aren't used to seeing films in our own work in, like, a cinema with a crowd. So to go to, 400 people was a bit mad. Like, it was a bit of it was a bit intense, but it was great. Like, we got a really, like, warm reception on it, and we had a lot of people from Longford there, a lot of people in the film who made the trip down on the night. So they gave it the thumbs up, which was, an acid test in itself. If they were getting out about it, you'd be in trouble. So yeah, no, it was a great experience. Very interesting experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose the reaction from the GA community so far has been really positive as well. And I think that was something that was really important to us to kind of do that world justice, because I suppose it's not a world that's kind of been seen on the big screen that much at all. So I suppose we did feel a bit of responsibility to, I guess, capture the culture and capture the tone of it. And so yeah, so far the club footballers that have seen it have given it a thumbs up. I suppose it's more closer to reality for a lot of players. A lot of players don't get that kind of marks to the final, and they don't get that kind of big win, and it's not always a fairy tale ending. A lot of time it does end through kind of injury or some other reason. So I suppose yeah, so far the response from GA players has been good. So yeah, that's been great.
You were saying you got completion funding from Screen Ireland. So you'd gotten it to a certain point, you had shot it and you had put together, say, a cut yourselves, and then kind of gone in and said, okay, we need X more days with an editor, grading, post. Did you have to do pickups or anything like that as well?
Um, no pickups, which was mad enough. We I think we were going to have to a couple of times during it, but it all just we just got a the GVs and the establishers, we were kind of concerned about that. But we just got a couple of really gorgeous kind of nights, evenings, and we managed to pick up a lot during them. Um, so yeah, it was just the edit, sound, and the score. We got really great people across the board there. Alan Quigley, amazing editor, who we got to spend a fun couple of months over at his gaff editing it. And then Dafhyd, the electronic artist, did a score for it as well. And James Latimer worked on the sound, but then Windmill handled and Dave Hughes came in to do the grade. So with Aaron Carroll, who was great as well. It was just a lifesaver the whole way through. But yeah, it was great. Like it was a race to get it for Galway, but we got there in the end. But Screen Ireland were great, and Niamh Fagan really supported this a lot, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, it was yeah, we it was great to get it because yeah, it was we could have used it at that point. The funds are low, so it was great. Yeah.
So it's coming home. It's coming to the Still Voices Festival in November. Are you all excited for that now? That's I say that's all the grannies will be, but like it's already sold out. So they're like we're not so much promoting it, more like the sound of it. So it's already sold out. So how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Buzzing for it. Yeah, we know Ronan for the last couple of years and stuff, and he's kind of been in the loop on this while we were plotting it for the last couple of years and stuff. So it's great to bring it back home, and to have so many people from the locality come out and see it. Like we're really buzzing for it, and we have the Spiral Tree nightclub, the place for that shot. We've that booked for after, so
Oh, brilliant.
it should be good crack.
That's how we can reenact some of the scenes.
Yeah,
Like playing a few Dahi tunes, bopping away into the wee hours, celebrating. But it's nice. Like I'd say, like people get such a kick as well because again, like you'd see, you see how many times have you seen like the IFSC in or like Grand Canal Dock on like every single show that's ever been
Yeah,
set on RTE. Everything has something set there on those like red things, but it'll be nice for someone to go, that's my local post office. And I was
yeah,
just there. And now I'm watching a film, a gorgeous, lovely film that is set here that I get to really enjoy it and kind of like languish in the space.
yeah.
Yeah,
We were
big time.
getting a few excited messages. One of the press images was the local supermarket was included in the back, and we got the thumbs up from him over that. He was getting in the papers over it. So there's a bit of a buzz about it when they spot kind of local spots in the film. Yeah, so should be
Um,
good crack. The screen.
and can you tell me a little bit about how you guys got the style of the film?
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of I guess the tone, the style, like I think there was a number of films that we kind of used as kind of references or guides in terms of tone. I suppose The Rider was a big one. God's Own Country was another kind of influence. But I suppose what we wanted to do was to I guess combine kind of almost a documentary feel. When you're kind of like living in kind of Cian's head when he's kind of struggling through those symptoms, and to kind of couple that with kind of more wider landscapes that kind of like give you a sense of the place. And I suppose that just for us kind of highlighted that even though Cian is kind of very much in his own head, he slowly begins to realize that there is kind of so much beauty, and there is a lot about kind of the landscape and kind of where he's from that he kind of really does appreciate, and even though he doesn't kind of see it at the beginning. So I suppose we tried to, yeah, kind of couple those two kind of styles together.
And it's beautiful. Oh my God. I've done the Lakelands, like you really like the area is sold. I think he goes to that really stunning place with Grace to chat. And I'm like, how do you find I presume you guys just know the terrain so well that it's fine to you're like, okay, we'll shoot that there. But I presume you have like tourists crawling all over it because it's so pretty. Or how do you find the locations? Like,
Yeah, we actually had photos of that up the other day, and we had like people from around home going, "Where is that?" Like, you just find these little. I guess you have a good shorthand of them from your teenage years when you've nothing to do but hang around in these random kind of spots and stuff like that. So we had a good little directory kind of built up from then. But yeah, like we just really wanted to showcase it, because I guess Longford isn't the first place that comes to mind when people think of these kind of locations. So we wanted to showcase a little bit of what they look like, and yeah, there's some nice scenery in there.
Yeah, and we just got so lucky with the weather. Like Longford does not always look like that. I think we just had an incredible run of luck last November where it rained once in 17 days. So I think we were absolutely blessed and just got really lucky with some deadly sunsets, and yeah, just maxed out on them the most we could and layered in as many of them as we could into the film.
yeah, that's stunning. Oh my God, you had some of those transition moments, I think, when he was just on the farm, and I was like, what a sky. How did you manage that? You must have been out all day. So you were. But
Oh,
tell me how you worked getting those camera angles, because they were just gorgeous.
yeah, so our cinematographer Simon Crowe, he's great. He's been working with us from our first film, and we kind of we started off very green with him, so he showed us a lot of ropes early on, and it's been great working with him over the years. He's he's a dub, but he's spent so much time down in Longford shooting with us on this, and between other jobs, he's pretty much an honorary Longford man at this point. But yeah, he's great. He really he's just great eye for all of this, and he's amazing to work under. Tight time constraints, 17 days, and I think we were just so happy with all the work on the film, the lighting and the angles and everything, to be achieved under such tight time frames. Yeah, it was great.
It must be nice as well to kind of come up with you guys, that if he's supporting you in your shorts, then to get something so kind of gorgeous across the line as a feature, like that's
Yeah, it was nice. We had quite a few people we'd worked with before, and I think that kind of gave it that kind of bit of a funny feel when we were working on it. And the whole thing was, it was a fun shoot, even despite the times, we made good friends with, I think, nearly everyone is still in touch, and we all hang out and we all chat quite regularly, so it's really nice, yeah, to move up the different levels and kind of into the longer form with people you've worked with before. Absolutely.
say fabulous. And what are you working on now, actually? So I'm just curious to what's the next step, because I presume that has been a black hole of everything, especially if you're doing so much stuff yourselves, and during COVID. So what's on next on the slate after this? Do you guys have another thing that you've been working on?
Yeah, we have a couple. We kind of had a couple on the go, and then I suppose following the flow, we were able to kind of start writing again after months of admin and all the rest. But yeah, so we're doing quite a lot of meetings at the moment about a follow-up feature, and then we've another feature script as well that we're kind of starting to do early stage meetings for as well. So yeah, just excited to see what
You can't tell us anymore. It's too secret. In case
one of them said Longford again. It's examining a pretty different side of that world, but we're keen to kind of explore that as much as we can. We feel there's a lot of untold stories down there, as you were saying. You do see a lot of Dublin and different parts of that. But we feel there's a lot of culture and a lot of tales down here that deserve to be told. So we're hoping to get some of them off the ground now. Yeah.
Great. Well, is anyone listening? A few bob, bit of a development funding. There you go. But thank you guys so much for chatting, and we'll see you down there at the Ballyman Still Voices Film Festival. And yeah, we'll see you down there for a drink.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gemma. Looking forward to it.
Viral.